Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming back and joining us. Goody and Johnny Mo with the movies. Tonight we're doing episode 54. We've had a little small hiatus, but we finally got back to see a couple of films. Tonight we are going to be bringing you Doctor Strange
In the multiverse of madness.
Right? That's the name of it?
Yep. Doctor
Okay.
Strange in the multiverse of madness.
And we actually got to see this twice over the weekend. We saw it on Thursday
saw
night
it
preview night, and
Thursday
then we saw it
night
again
opening weekend.
opening weekend. Yep, and which is this past weekend.
And then we saw it
Saturday.
Saturday morning
Yep.
With the
family.
the greater family.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of people actually.
But before we get into that review, as always, we are going to be doing our little drink of the episode.
I am drinking one of my favorites, Abito Turbo Dog out of New Orleans.
You haven't had that in a while.
No, I haven't. I'll be honest with you. It was kind of hard to find. It wasn't always available. You could always go to Big Daddy's in Massapequa, or there's another one somewhere on Long Island, which is a New Orleans restaurant, and they usually have Turbo Dog there. And there was a couple occasions where I ordered it. One year I asked the guy if he
Through
could
a
get,
distributor?
yeah, I asked him to get me a case, and he did. But now some places I'm seeing the 6-packs, and
I wonder if it's like a seasonal.
I like the Abita Turbo Dog. It's got a little bit of like a chocolatey taste to it. I dig it a lot.
Mine is real simple. It's a Sam Adams, one of their summer seasonals, porch rocker. This is very tasty.
Are we still in the summer?
Well, are we? Well, we're getting to summer. We are only in the spring.
Oh, we didn't even hit the summer yet? Oh, man. The warm,
So listen,
So it's
here's...
just going to get warmer. Oh, boy.
Thank goodness for that. Here's to all of you. Thanks you guys so much for the support, listening, watching, wherever you guys are. Cheers. Please grab your drink and join us.
Now, shirt-wise, I'm pretty sure I don't have a Doctor Strange shirt per se, but I do have my Stan Lee is
Whipping out your
everybody's
Stan Lee.
shirt, and I'm pretty sure that Stan Lee is Doctor Strange. Dead center in the middle, center square, Hollywood Squares, dead center. So that's as close as I get.
Good.
And what shirt are you wearing?
Oh, I'm not. Nothing special.
Nothing special, but
This
I
is
can't
not
see
a.
it.
This is not a graphic tee.
It's a
for
bourbon
tonight.
shirt.
It's a bourbon shirt.
Okay, look at you.
Should have drank bourbon with this thing. All right. So,
So before we get into the movie,
well, what are your thoughts on the first film? Real quick.
yeah, okay, even even further back than I was going to go. Okay, I'll be honest with you. The first film was a long time ago. I think I only saw it once, but my recollection of it was that it was okay, but I thought it could have been better. I thought Dormammu was a little too CG. I thought Doctor Strange origin story was a little too convenient. How all of a sudden he just became like somebody who would have nothing to do with any of this to all of a sudden being master of the mystic arts, maybe even Sorcerer
like a
Supreme, like in a really short amount of time. It seemed.
Yeah.
It seemed way too accelerated.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought the movie was okay. I really did. It was not one of my favorite Marvel films during the Infinity Saga. I liked. You know what's funny? I thought Benedict Cumberbatch did a good job. I just didn't like Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
I just thought he was a jerk, and he was just portrayed that way over and over again. It's like, all right, at some point, I know you're going to want me to flip the switch and feel for this guy and like him.
Well,
And I just didn't.
to be fair, Stephen Strange in the comics before coming Doctor Strange was a jerk.
And I completely understand. Like, I understand.
That's
Like,
part
that's
of,
the portrayal.
That's part of his.
But I
his
just
character,
didn't.
part of his evolution.
Being like, you know what? There's a difference between like him and a guy like Tony. Like Tony's also portrayed as kind of like this
little bit of
rich,
Pompous.
yeah, like definitely like jerkish. But he was funny, charismatic, and throughout the film of Iron Man, you really see his transformation.
Yeah, no,
to
I
care
get
about other
that.
people.
But Stephen Strange in the comics really is basically a selfish, self-centered character.
Yeah.
With not too many redeeming qualities except his medical expertise.
Yeah, I mean, he is a genius. Like, he is a medical genius, and that you see, obviously, throughout the film. And obviously, that's. I mean,
Right.
we know that's why he adapts so quickly to learning everything. But like you said, I do feel it was convenient because it's not like he's at is it Comitage? Is that how you say that?
Camartage.
Comitage. He's not there that long, and he just happens to amass this knowledge so quickly
Yeah,
to the point where he even has the eye of
Agamotto, and he's totally
and he
on
knows
point.
how to use it.
And he's comfortable with it. It makes sense,
Yeah.
and he's so adept. Now, keep in mind, you know, Stephen Strange as a jerk in the comics, you really only see once. Doctor Strange first appeared in Strange Tales number 110, but when he appeared in Strange Tales 110, he was already Doctor Strange. It wasn't an origin issue. I think it was in Strange Tales 115 where they did the origin issue, and it was literally one issue, and that's like really the only time you saw Doctor Strange as just Stephen Strange. And they in a short amount of time just said, "Yep, he's a jerk," and then he becomes Doctor Strange by the end of and you never really see the jerky Stephen Strange almost
Right.
ever again. So sometimes it's hard to forget that. But in the movie, I think it's because I think they're doing an origin for sure. I think you see Stephen Strange quite a bit in the movie
Well, you see, like,
before he becomes Doctor Strange.
You just see his arrogance like over and over again.
Yeah, it is. They make a point of it, and they have to because it's an origin story.
And
origin
I
movie.
agree. I thought like Dormammu was just.
He looked like
There was nothing menacing about him at that time. Like he was all just CG.
he looked like a part. It looks like they took a party balloon and like put it in front of a green screen and put some special effects around it.
It was just like a
metallic balloons.
Yeah, it was okay, but that was
He was very unreal.
and I feel like that's why
obviously
like I just
CG.
had like no.
He was almost
didn't
like
care.
he was almost
It
like a
had,
floating head.
Yeah, that's almost what it felt
Right.
like.
And the comics, Dormammu, is a guy. He's a guy. Sometimes he can appear as being large, but for the most of the time he's walking around like a guy with like a flaming head.
Right.
So he's so it was a little the portrayal of Dormammu was a little different.
Yeah, that was it for me. It was just okay.
Yeah,
and it
I
was
agree.
And the trailer for this film
I think was very interesting.
Had me going a little bit more. Like had me very interested in seeing this film.
There was a lot of discussion about the trailer. There was a lot of different trailers, and I was very much looking forward to the movie because based on the trailer, it looked like it was going to be a really good movie.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the trailer maybe hyped it up a little bit too much.
I'll say the people that made the trailer did their job well.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know that the movie lived up to the trailer, but I think the movie wasn't bad, certainly. But I was expecting a little better.
I mean, so we had Sam Raimi direct this film, bringing in a known, you want to say horror director.
Well,
Like
I guess
Sam has
he
done some horror.
started out as horror, but I think he's done quite a bit.
I mean, since he's not strictly horror for
Yeah.
sure,
But,
but,
I mean,
he
he
tried
was-
to bring a horror flair to this. to the
Yeah,
MCU.
no, absolutely. And he was, he did the original Spider-Man movies.
Yes, he did. He did the first
So
three.
he's got,
Yep.
he's got some superhero chops under his belt going back.
And a lot of people still consider Spider-Man 2 to be the best Spider-Man film. So he did give us that.
Yeah, quality wise, it just might be. It just literally. I mean, even though Spider-Man Far From Home,
No Way Home.
No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, as fun as it is, it's there's a difference between a movie that's fun and a movie that's just well made on point. And I think Spider-Man 2 is like solid 3.5, maybe even 4 stars.
Yeah.
Very well made, on point. Whereas No Way Home isn't necessarily a well-crafted movie. It's just because of so many things going on, so many characters. Right. That was done well, because sometimes you can do that.
Well, you could have too many
you
characters.
Could have too many characters,
and
you can't handle it. But they were able to handle it, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I thought, bringing in Sam Raimi to again, because you're going to be dealing again with a lot of characters in this film. In the previews alone, you had Doctor Strange. We knew that Wanda was going to be in this.
Yeah.
We knew that there's this other girl who turns to be America Chavez.
America Chavez. But I think the biggest speculation
Wong
was
was in this.
was who
Who's the villain?
who was going to be the villain and or villains, and there was enormous speculation because I mean it went from Mephisto to Nightmare to Shumagorath.
Yes,
So I mean,
there were a number of
I think
theories.
I think
as to
they
who
were
was gonna be
expecting
in this.
Mephisto to show up in WandaVision.
Yeah,
But I still think
that
that
never
I still
happened.
think there's an expectation that Mephisto's going to show up somewhere. The fact that this was the multiverse of madness, and even going into the film where they started talking about dreams, because we're still going, okay, who's going to be who's even while we're watching
Yes.
the film, who's going to be in it, what's going to be.
well, just because they show you in the trailers, like you see multiple Doctor Strange characters.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you've seen the What If series, you know that there is a Doctor Strange episode that he's in, and like you see an evil version
evil
of
version
himself,
of-
and you're like,
right.
all right, is that going to be connected?
Is the evil Doctor Strange going to be the main villain?
Right.
And the fact that it's the multiverse of madness, the whole madness thing plays into it because even they were talking about dreams. The very first Doctor Strange villain and if Doctor Strange has a rogues gallery would be Nightmare, who is just lives in the dream dimension or whatever, and screws around, gives you nightmares. He's a kind of a powerful demon. So really brought into that. Then the fact that you're dealing more and more with the multiverse, possibly the Living Tribunal, who is the Marvel character most associated with the multiverse. He's actually the guardian of the multiverse.
Of the multiverse, okay.
He's a singular character that lives outside of the universe, and almost like he can go into universes, but like he's like the multiverse guardian. And then you have in the previews, you got this giant octopus, one-eyed octopus running around
Yes.
New York City, Manhattan, tossing cars around, and that's just screaming Shumagorath. Who is the Doctor Strange villain? And we're going to talk a little bit more about all of especially about the ones that are in the movie. But it was there was a lot to think about and a lot to absorb.
There was, and I mean, ultimately, hey guys, spoilers for those of you guys who don't know what we're all about. It's going to be spoilers. I had a feeling that there was a chance that it could have been Wanda, but they didn't portray it that way. They portrayed it as if Steven was going to go to Wanda and she was going to help
And they
him.
were going to join forces.
Yes, which would have been a really cool thing to see, the two of them teaming up together.
Yeah.
That's certainly not what we got.
And I find it funny because I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the Scarlet Witch in the MCU is a lot more powerful than the Scarlet Witch in the comics. Unless, something's been going on for the last 10 or 20 years. But the traditional Scarlet Witch, is a mutant with, altering, changing probabilities. She's got a little bit of, witchcraft training underneath the belt. But she's nowhere near what she is in these movies. Like, she's really powerful. And I feel like they did the same thing with Hela in Thor Ragnarok. Hela in the comics is a pretty tough cookie. But in the MCU, she's like more than double that. Like, she can take on Thor and Loki at the same time. Hela in the comics can't do that. So they're just making some of these women really powerful, more so than I think than some like counterparts. Like, I think a lot of the male characters are about what they are. Like, there's not about that. I don't see such a radical departure in their abilities.
I think they have to do that to just amp up the villain, right? Just to make it more, of a a fight.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because like you don't want it to. I mean, if like just one on one, it might. Like if you're seeing these two people go at it, you don't know who could actually. I mean, is it going to be? You're thinking Thor is probably going to take out Hela most of the time, but but you amp her up the way that they do in the films, and now you start thinking, can Thor actually take her? And like they show that so early on, in Ragnarok, like how powerful she, like you said, like she took on both Thor and Loki at the same time
easily.
and just easily wiped the floor with
Yeah,
them. And
with
like,
a smirk.
and you're like,
And
oh,
with a
this is
smile.
actually going to be a battle. This isn't going to be
Yeah.
something very. This isn't going to be a simple fight.
Yeah, she walked into that knowing that she was
That she could
now,
take
in
this
that
film.
one time.
Of course, we
Yeah.
get Scarlet Witch. I mean, but Scarlet Witch, we've seen her how powerful she's been getting with each film. I feel
Yeah.
like she's been getting more and more
Well, it's
powerful.
really kind of funny because in the comic books, she was always just a Scarlet Witch. That was her character. In the MCU, she's Wanda.
But the only time
And
you've
she-
ever seen her called Scarlet Witch,
Is in
so
WandaVision.
right? Because so in the beginning, like when they introduce her in this film, she's walking. Her and Steven are talking, and they're walking around, and then all of a sudden, it's revealed that it's Wanda that's sending the demons after America Chavez to get to her character,
Right, who we'll talk about too.
and she then calls herself the Scarlet Witch, and then
Right.
that becomes a whole big deal.
That's a whole big thing. It's apparently it's a whole legend and
Right, like
whatever.
they know this. Like at the commentage, like Wong's going on about like the Scarlet Witch, and it's like he's talking to like it looks like a room full of elders that just know about this legend.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently, like it's an evil manifestation.
Yes.
Like the Scarlet
Yeah.
Witch is an evil thing, you know. Like I mean, in the comics, the Scarlet Witch is just a Scarlet Witch, and whether there were some scenarios where she became evil and possessed or whatever, but she was still a Scarlet Witch. In the MCU, it's like she's Wanda,
Yeah,
and when she becomes the Scarlet Witch, that's almost like the evil version of her.
yeah.
You know, so it's kind of odd
Well,
because
but-
I remember that being the case where I'm like, they don't call it like for a long time, she's never called the Scarlet Witch, and then finally she is, and it's in the MCU, it's actually an evil connotation.
Well, what was interesting is that watching that on screen happen, I'm thinking to myself, so she calls herself, that she's the Scarlet Witch, and I'm like, did she just name herself? Like, did she just come up with it? And then I'm trying to think back as to WandaVision. I was like, yes, in towards the end of the episodes, she doesn't call herself that, but Agatha Harkness, is that her name right?
Agatha Harkness.
She called her the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Because of her abilities and what she's been capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, so she was called that. But like, I don't know. We'll get into one of my biggest problems with this film towards the end. But
Okay.
I mean, we get introduced to America Chavez, which is a new MCU character.
Right.
I think she's also in the comics. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Marvel's today's like the newer characters from today.
Me neither, but I looked into it, and I
Okay.
think not a whole lot, but just to see where she
Like,
came
how
from.
old is this character?
I believe America Chavez was introduced in a comic book called Vengeance, just within the past 10 years, maybe 2011, maybe 2015.
And is that her?
I forget.
And her ability is to travel through the multiverse?
It probably is because it looks like her. Because I can't, they must have done it. And to me, in my head, I wasn't sure if this was an original character or not because prior to this movie, I had never heard of her, and I'm like,
I knew she was in the comics, but I didn't know like
okay.
how new this character was.
but I was like, what an odd name. Why is she being called America? Like, is it, like, that's not a common first name for anybody, America. And I'm like, are they trying to make a point, some sort of analogy or symbolism? And I'm not sure. And it's like, I found like her jacket to be like annoying. Like it's got all
the stars on it.
I'm like, okay, whatever. And she's like,
Well,
this,
when she opens up her portals, they're also in the shape of a star.
in the shape of stars, which is to me a little goofy, So I was just like, and the whole, I think one of the aspects of this movie that I totally didn't buy at all, makes no sense to me, but I guess you needed to accept it in order for the movie to work somehow, was the whole thing that your dreams really are taking place. They're windows.
They're
to
the
another,
other.
They're windows to another
they're
universe.
other yous in other another multiverse.
Well, they're windows to what's happening in another universe.
Yeah.
It's not a dream. It's not fiction. It's reality somewhere else.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, I mean, that's just asinine. It's really like it's stupid. Like it's not one of those things where you sit there and you go, oh, that's what it is. It's more like, are you freaking kidding me? Like that's where you're going with? I'm like, but apparently, like they needed that scenario for
We needed to buy into
aspects
that.
of the movie. So that
Well, especially because
that's the
the movie
thing. That's
opens
the
up with
suspension of disbelief. That's the one suspension of disbelief that you got to buy to get in there.
well, because the movie starts out that way, right? Like our
Yeah,
Stephen Strange is
dreaming
dreaming
about
about
what.
another Stephen
Yeah,
Strange, and that's how he recognizes America.
yeah, and it's like it should have been some sort of magical thing where somebody's magic was making they were seeing visions of dreams.
Well, especially like in the one, so like Wong is like, because Wong almost doesn't buy into it. He's like, wait a minute, so that one dream where like I'm running naked and like a bear's chasing me, and she's like, yeah, that happens in another universe.
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen. Like it should have been a scenario where because you're a mystic, you don't dream like other people, and like maybe sometimes you're in tune with other things going on because
But
of
also,
your mysticism.
which is also
But
just
they're
doesn't make
making it
sense,
sound like this is the case for everybody that dreams.
except for her
Everybody.
because she doesn't dream, so she's the only one of her.
Yeah, so
she's the only one. She's the
yeah, she's from one universe only, which
which isn't even ours,
which makes no sense too,
and
because
it's not even our universe.
so that puts her on par with the Living Tribunal. She's but the Living Tribunal, well, not really, but the Living Tribunal isn't from one universe. He's beyond the universe, but like that just I don't know, it just makes no sense. And then she's like, oh, and that's why I don't dream because I can't see any. There
the
isn't
only
another
one.
one of me going on.
Yeah. I know that's it's a big suspension of disbelief when you
Yeah.
start to hear that.
And when they talk about the multiverse, I think when you embrace the multiverse is a common thing in the comics, but ultimately it's like there's billions of or almost an infinite
Yeah.
amount of universes out there that are alternate universes where different things are happening, you know, and it's like they got it, they almost make it sound like there's like 700 of them. It's like no, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
And the thing that's funny about the multiverse is that it's not just the multiverse for Earth.
Right. It's every world.
It's
the whole
the
universe.
entire. Okay, so our universe is freaking ginormous, and there's alternate versions of all these different things that are going on.
Right.
So like if you figure out all the different combinations, it's too many. It's too many to figure out.
You can't your brain can't comprehend
Yeah.
how large the number is.
And one of the things that everything just seems to be Earth centric because
Well, of course it's
they
gonna
talk
be.
about an incursion where if you screw around with the multiverse and do something wrong, you destroy that entire universe. So it's like somebody does something wrong on Earth, you're destroying our entire universe.
Right.
But it's like
This
okay,
one speckled planet.
right?
is-
So there's about 1 billion other people on 1 billion other planets that could probably do the same thing, and it's like like somebody in another galaxy with mystical powers might be causing an incursion that destroys Earth. It's like
But we don't care about them. We only care about
Yeah,
we only
I
care
know.
about us.
they get like
It doesn't matter.
it's just I think a lot of people watch these movies and they sit there and say, oh, it's they messed up Earth. When Doctor Strange is on the Earth where there was an incursion and got messed up, it's like oh, Earth is messed up. It's like no,
No, it's the whole universe.
Earth isn't messed up, but every planet in the solar system is messed up. Every solar system in our galaxy is messed up, and every single planetary system and every solar system and every single other galaxy in the universe is messed up, and that's billions. It's just
Yeah.
it's a little crazy. So that's
Most people aren't going to think about that.
I know
They're
but-
thinking about
but
what,
that's
they're
what
thinking about what's right in front of them.
right. That's what the multiverse is, and it's
Right.
like it's a little crazy. So just to talk a little bit about the Living Tribunal, he was one of the guys that people thought could have been majorly involved in this film. But there is a scene where I believe he appears. I think in one of the very first things you see where America Chavez opens up a multiversal portal, when they go in the left corner, there's almost like a face, a large face. And it happens really fast. And I tried watching it both times, and it happened really
Oh, I
fast.
definitely didn't catch this.
And to me, it looks like the the head of the living tribunal. So I think now I don't know if that's a nod.
It might
Or
be an
something,
Easter egg.
an Easter egg. I don't know if it's an Easter egg or something that they're going to harken back
expand
to.
on. I have to, I have to look into that and see if anyone else had really noticed that. I did not notice that.
Yeah, it's very hard to
But
see.
I wouldn't have known to look for that because I'm not like
And
it's Marvel for me.
you,
Like
yeah,
I
you
don't
probably
know it
don't
as
even know
much.
what he looks like. But basically, like I think, like the Living Tribunal, he's he's got three faces. He's got a front, left, and right face.
Oh, okay.
And the front one is completely he's got like almost got like a shroud over his head, and the front facing one is completely unobscured. One of them on the side is obscured by half,
Okay.
and the other one on the side is completely obscured. So it's like one of those things like
It's a symbolism.
Like, yeah, it's a symbolism
Yeah.
thing. But he's a pretty like giant, like he almost looks like he's made of gold, like gold crystal carrot, gold crystal body and arms and head, and his head I think is actually looks like it's floating above his abdomen. It's not connected. It almost looks like floating, and he's almost got like his fingers are fused. He's really, and and in the comics he's unbelievably powerful. He's one of the most powerful beings in the comics, because he like if there's been scenarios in What If books where things were going wrong in a particular in like, okay, so I think there was a What If, I don't know if it was either Dark Phoenix or Korvac were going to destroy the universe, one or the other, and the Living Tribunal basically just sat there and said, okay, there's a problem here, and I don't want it to spread to any other universes. So he just sealed off that universe from all other universes. Whatever happens. It can't get out.
Okay.
And he's just like, all right.
He can do it.
He's like, sorry, I'm bailing. There's nothing I can do. I'm bailing on this universes, but I can stop it from spreading. And he just seals it off. He can do that. He's really tough. He's really tough. So I'm hoping it wasn't just an Easter egg, and maybe
It turns into something.
because at the end of the day, they keep bringing up the multiverse. It's not going away.
Yeah.
It was brought up in the Spider-Man movie.
Spider movie was brought up in Loki.
So it's like,
Yeah.
and that's what they did in the comic books. Everything happened on Earth, and then it became interstellar, and then all of a sudden they pulled in the multiverse, and they never looked back. I don't think once you open up Pandora's box, you can't go back. I think not that everything will always be multiversally important, but it'll always be kind of there as something to key off on.
Yeah, no, I think this is the way that Marvel's going right now, and I think we're going to continue to see this occur more either in films and especially on the Disney Plus programs as well.
Yeah, and I think it was something that they probably planned on doing after phase
Get the
after
Infinity Saga
after
out of the way. That was phase
the
3.
number of phases that had to deal with Thanos and all
Yeah.
that. Like they're like, you know what, like we got to finish that, and now we're on to the new phases, and we can do some stuff.
Right.
Just like when the Eternals brought in the Celestials.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the carryover of the elders of the universe from the previous films. They're gonna start doing some bigger stuff.
Right, and I think that's where it's not just going to be concentrated towards Earth. Like you're going to start to see
Yeah.
it affect in the galaxy or the
And that,
universe as a whole.
that was the case, and like big titles like Doctor Strange and Fantastic Four and Avengers and X-Men. It wasn't they weren't just duking it out with somebody trying to rob a bank in Midtown Manhattan. They were dealing with planetary threats.
You mean they needed to do something bigger than just a bank robbery?
Yeah, solar system threats, galaxy threats, universal threats. Interdimensional threats. Doctor Strange. Fantastic Four and Avengers pretty much dealt with mostly people in our universe, but Doctor Strange dealt with a lot of interdimensional stuff, as did Thor. A lot of interdimensional stuff, a lot of different realms and types of things going on.
So we got to get into a big reason why this movie is was made and one of the big story plot lines. Wanda's whole thing is that she wants to be reunited with her kids that she created using her magic
In WandaVision.
from WandaVision.
Yeah.
And that was her whole goal. And I think at the very end, one of the after credits for WandaVision was her using the Darkhold And actually, she was like, I think she was in her like Scarlet Witch outfit, and she was you could see her using the Darkhold, and she was basically trying to like find her children. And this film kind of almost like picks up from that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen the ending of WandaVision in so long, so don't kill me if I got that wrong. But I vaguely remember that being the end credit scene.
Yeah, and I believe in the comics, the Vision and Scarlet Witch limited series dealt a lot with Wanda's children, and I didn't really read them that much, but my recollection of what I've heard and read about that is that basically in the comics, her children weren't real; they were created by magic.
Right. And this is where I start to have some real issues with this film. So let's discuss it. So Wanda wants to get her hands on America Chavez so that she can open up a portal and take her to a world where she can be with her children that are real.
Yes.
That are physical, actual beings.
Right. And to be honest with you, I find, and I think I found this in WandaVision too, I find her kids to be almost a little annoying.
Well, they're kids.
Yeah, but they're not cute kids. They're not cute kids. I don't know. I don't know. I just find them a little annoying. I don't know. They're just they're annoying.
Well, so she has to find her two.
I don't find them
children.
endearing. I'm like, if I was Wanda, I'm like, I'm gonna have to look around for the best version of these kids in the multiverse. 'Cause I'm not just settling for the standard. I gotta give them a little back. I don't know. They're just a little annoying. They were a little annoying to me. Anyhow,
we can't just talk to America Chavez and find a world. Find a world that maybe the kids that Wanda died in another universe, and the kids are orphaned or by themselves, so she could actually be a mother to them. No, we can't do that. We have to find a plan, find a universe where the kids are real. Their mother Wanda is still there, is her mother,
and we're just gonna
go in and be like, no, I'm gonna take over from here.
Yep.
And not only that,
I want your life.
I want your life. Exactly. I want to take your life over. You'll be dead. And not only that, I want to take this person. I want to take Chavez's ability from her, which will kill her, just so that, God forbid, something happens to her children. She could go to any multiverse she needs to in order to have it fixed.
And do it. Okay.
Like her plan was to fix it.
Oh yeah, that's what she said. If anything,
like a disease or something or anything comes up, the multiverse has an answer, right? And so she could use that.
Because ultimately, in my head, I'm going like, why wouldn't she just ask America Chavez for help and say, just
thank you? That would be it. That would be but that would be the end of the movie.
However, America Chavez knows that her plan is to get rid of the other mother, so I don't think she would agree to.
But that's what it is, right? So it's like she would end up killing the other Wanda. Mm-hmm. None of this makes sense. It just doesn't, because that to me this means that Wanda learned nothing from WandaVision, and at the end of WandaVision, she has that whole battle with Agatha Harkness, and she sees the error of her ways and what she did to that town. And fixes everything. And Strange even says to her, like, I'm not here about Westview. Like, you fixed that. You did the right thing in the end.
Yeah.
Okay? And here she is making the same mistakes all over again to a whole nother level.
Yeah, the only...
To a whole nother level.
I think the only way I might be able to explain that, and to me it's conjecture, because it's not obvious that this is what's happening in the film, is that if she's using the Darkhold, the Darkhold corrupts you.
Right. And
it's evil.
And granted, and that's what Strange talks about as well.
But it's not just one of those things where you use it and it exacts a price. It's actually it will corrupt your core.
Yeah, it corrupts your soul.
It is by definition an evil document.
Right. And the fact that and again, like, we just literally get word of this Darkhold in WandaVision, and then it's literally destroyed in like the first 20-30 minutes of the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah,
but that's the written version of it, and now we have to go to where it was actually carved into stone
in Wondergore. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think that what that woman did to destroy the Darkhold would have worked.
But that's what I don't mean. You stabbed it with a dagger so it destroyed
Yeah,
the
even
Darkhold.
even if it's a mystical dagger, it doesn't matter because that written version of the Darkhold has been around for thousands upon thousands of years. You know, it's not easily destroyed.
I don't know, like that.
The
It was just
Darkhold is an immensely powerful. It's not just a book off the shelf. It's an immensely powerful book.
like you talked before.
That you can't physically destroy for the most part, most likely.
To me, it's some of these items. It's almost like the One Ring. Like no mortal like
Yeah.
weapon is really going to destroy this thing. But I couldn't buy into it. It lost me so much from that point because I'm just like she hasn't learned anything.
Yeah.
And then again, when we get to the end, oh, she sees, what am I going to do with my other self? You scared the kids. They run to their actual mother,
they're not gonna like
knowing
you at all.
they're never going to come to
You're
you.
you're the boogie woman.
Right. And you finally, like, she says to herself that, like, I'm not the monster. And then she realizes she's the monster.
Right. I guess it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? You know, you almost got to sit there and say, I can't believe she's doing this. And America Chavez is like, well, you know what? Let's give her what she wants. And then she's going to realize what she wants and what she's doing, what it actually means. And when push comes to shove, she's going to reject it. And luckily she did.
But it's still like, and at the very, but even like towards the beginning,
like
when she realizes,
it's contrived story.
what I just don't understand is, so for someone like Wanda, where when we first get introduced to her and her brother, right, Pietro, they're both exploited kids for their abilities, right, by an evil faction.
Yeah.
And so the Avengers take them in and help them realize their potential, right? Like, Pietro dies, but, for Wanda, they're trying to help her. And here she is trying to exploit this young girl to the point where if you take her abilities, you're going to actually kill her. Like, are we not seeing the similarities to, like, Wanda from a few movies back? I don't understand. And I even read something to where that Sam Raimi didn't even watch all of WandaVision.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like he got the Cliff Notes version of what happened. And to me, like, that would almost make sense.
Right, because if you don't, you can take liberties with a character that you don't understand, and it makes more sense to you because you don't realize that it doesn't make sense.
Just making the same mistakes over and over again. The fact that when she's killing all those people at Kamatosh, I hope I'm saying that right. Like, now she's killing all of these people. Or like, she just redeemed herself at the end of WandaVision.
Yeah.
Right? And now all of a sudden she's literally killing all these people.
See, I feel like I felt that they had to make it a multiversal storyline, so they had to do it that way. But if they weren't like trying to shove the multiverse down your throat and get it introduced
Well, I kind of
bigger
feel
and
like
bigger.
See, that's part of it. I feel like it's just, I get it. Like
in
you're trying
the grand
to
design, you're just trying to get how the multiverse works and all that, and more exposure to it. And so they're like, okay, let's do this.
I just felt like it wasn't executed well.
Yeah,
like
because
that to me was probably one of my biggest pet peeves about this film is that her current actions in this film don't add up compared to where she was prior to, and I feel like that took me out a little bit because I kept saying, like, I don't buy into listen, I'm a parent of 3 kids. I would do anything for my children. I understand, losing them, and that would probably make you nuts. And I understand the discussion of the Darkhold and how that corrupts to this point. But like it went on and it kept going on, like,
Yeah.
where she kept becoming worse and worse and worse, and you can keep talking about, well, she kept using the Darkhold over and over again throughout all this, and that was corrupting her more and more, and I see that. It's just not learning your lesson from a show that we just watched a year ago to this. That stuck with me for most of the film.
No, I get that, and to be honest with you, it brings up another point. Another one of the potential villains that could have been like the whole person behind this movie was the demon Chatan, and I didn't catch the name the first time I saw it, but I caught them mention the name in the second time I saw it. When they get to Wundagore, they talk about the demon who actually wrote all this.
Wrote it on the wall.
The demon is Chthon. Chthon is Chthon with a
Oh, like an accent.
with an accent in there somewhere. Chthon is a really powerful evil demon. And if they were just going to do a story for the sake of doing a story, they probably would have been better off adapting one of the Avengers storylines from the late '70s, early '80s, right in there, where takes place on Wundagore Mountain, all that stuff, and the Scarlet Witch is possessed by Chthon. Chthon is trying to manifest himself into the earthly plane through possession of Wanda.
See, to me, that would have been a better story.
Yeah.
If she was trying to use the book, and let's say she was searching for her kids throughout the multiverse, right? And while she was searching, the demon took possession of her,
Right.
to the point where no one could tell that it wasn't Wanda,
Right.
Until something until the demon revealed himself later.
Right.
That I would have bought into.
That would have made sense.
That would have been better.
Because Chthon, like, that would have been one of the things where, Chthon was probably expelled from this earthly plane, millennia ago by whoever. And it's one of these things where, but the Darkhold still existed, so he's got a connection to it. And it would have been one of these things where it's like using the Darkhold to tempt Wanda to do things, and
Right.
then, getting the hooks into her, and then being
Right. And then
able to channel his
Yes.
through into her and take over her body.
Yes.
And I can tell you right now, that storyline in the comics is fantastic. It's like when the couple of issues where Wanda is possessed by the demon, she's like fantastic. Like, she looks evil. She's like almost like white and like almost like deathly looking and demonic. I mean, and it was drawn by John Byrne. It was when John Byrne was doing the Avengers. I mean, some of the covers in that run and it's just fantastic. And in my head, I'm going, I wonder if Chthon is going to be the ultimate bad guy, because Chthon and Darkhold is synonymous, but they dropped the name. They dropped the name, but he's not.
They should. That's
he's
what
not
I'm sorry,
involved
but
in the story.
that to me would have been much better if they would have made it so that she was possessed. That would have fixed so many of the issues that I had with this.
So when they talked about all the dreams, that's why I was like, I'm going to be really surprised that Nightmare isn't involved, but they didn't bring Nightmare in at all.
No.
But then you have the problem with Shumagorath, because Shumagorath is like, well, okay, is it Shumagorath?
Now are we positive that this thing is Shumagorath?
I looked into this.
Okay.
There's a whole to do about this. It's actually very interesting, because the visual of that creature in the movie, it looks exactly like Shumagorath. However, in the comics, Shumagorath is a lot bigger. He's a much larger entity. He's a lot more powerful. Shumagorath is actually one of the most powerful entities in the comics. He's like on par with Mephisto. He's like, he can destroy worlds. He can destroy galaxies. Like, he's like an elder god or an elder demon that's been around forever, and he is mad tough.
So maybe this is his kid that Strange ends up destroying.
So apparently, and I'm pretty sure they don't mention this at all in the movie, that
they don't mention this thing by name at all.
Well,
they just say it was like a demon that was
chasing
after her.
I've been reading into it, and it does have a name, but I don't know how anybody knows that's what it's called. The name of that creature in the movie is called Gargantus, or Gargantus, something like that. And apparently there is a Gargantus in the Marvel Comics. I think he's a Submariner villain. He's some sort of like, undersea, sea monster, whatever. Maybe he's kind of like an octopus, I'm not sure. But it's not the same Gargantus in the comic books.
Okay.
But regardless, I'm pretty sure first appearance of Gargantus is going up. But the first appearance of Shumagorath went sky high because of all this stuff.
Thinking that this was going to be it, right?
So the problem with Shumagorath is that Marvel/Disney is not allowed to use the name Shumagorath.
Who owns the rights?
The name Shumagorath falls under the estate of Robert E. Howard.
Mad?
No, Conan.
Okay.
Robert E. Howard created a whole bunch of different people. He created Conan, he created Red Sonja, he created Kull, and a whole bunch of other, probably even named some sorcerers in there too. But in part of Robert E. Howard's work, Shumagorath is also mentioned. So when Marvel bought the rights to Robert E. Howard characterizations, they were in the 70s. They were able to do Conan books and Kull books and Red Sonja books.
Okay.
And they introduced Shumagorath as a villain all in the early 70s for Doctor Strange, and all the other things that ever appeared in Robert E. Howard books. But at some point, Marvel gave up the rights to the Robert E. Howard properties. They gave them to, I think, Dark Horse at one point. And then later on, I think Dynamite got them.
Okay.
It's one of these things where none of those characters were created by Marvel. They're all Robert E. Howard creations, even though maybe they put a slightly different interpretation. They did their spin on them.
They published them. They published the stories that were written about
and
them.
that's why, like, they gave up. They gave it on to somebody else, and it's changed. And I think when somebody buys those rights, you get them all. And so now,
it's like a package deal.
So until Disney buys out the people, the comic book company that
so
has those rights,
so they can't use it.
They can't use the name, but they like the look. They call it something else. They made him a lot, and I can tell right now they made him a lot less powerful because basically they made him look like in the movie he's not really a top dog. He's just
In the movie, he looks just like a giant one-eyed octopus.
He's a giant one-eyed. He's a giant. He's a bruiser. He's somebody to send in to screw things up. Like you send in the like a brawl or whatever. He's a mystical monster brawler, but he's not a mastermind. He's not. He's a pawn. He's a demonic pawn to be used by someone who's as powerful as a Scarlet Witch. Whereas at the end of the day, if it was real Shumagorath, he would have been the villain behind everything.
Yeah.
Trying to take over this universe or the multiverse, and it's totally not that. But he's cool looking.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, that's just the MCU's version of Shumagorath. And the only reason they didn't call it Shumagorath was because of
which happens.
the copyrights issues, which was actually kind of fun. I didn't know Shumagorath was a Robert E. Howard.
They probably could have paid for the. They could have paid for that and just not.
I don't think so.
I don't mean buy the rights out. They could have talked to the estate and be like, "Hey, we want to use this character. Here's some cash."
Yeah, but then at the end of the day,
and they basically borrow it.
What they were planning on using the character for probably didn't need a name.
Wasn't worth it.
Wasn't worth it. He wasn't a player. He was just
like you said, he was a pawn. It wasn't.
He was a set piece. Monster shows up in Manhattan. Boom, Doctor Strange takes him out.
So now let's get to the big
so
cameos.
many more cameos.
Well, let's talk about the big ones because these are the ones that actually mattered. The largest cameo that we got is when they went to the one version of the Earth that has
I wasn't even thinking
that
about
almost
those.
looks like a futuristic Earth.
Yeah,
and we
so
find
we
out
have-
that they Strange in America get captured. And Strange gets he gets escorted by these Ultron bots that we find out.
Yeah, see now you thought you were Iron.
I thought they were Iron
You
Man.
thought they were Iron Man bots, and
they're not.
And I was like, they don't look like Iron Man bots to me, but they're Ultron bots. Okay.
So the Ultron bots bring him in to the Illuminati.
And I'll be honest with you, I have a problem. I have a little bit of a problem with the Illuminati. One, in their inception, and two, what happened to them.
I had a huge problem with what happened to them, which we'll discuss. But this film, I thought this scene was trying to sell these cameos off as like the big reason to see this movie.
Yeah.
Incorporating Captain Carter, which we saw from the What If series, Black Bolt, which is from the Inhumans, which is the same actor
guy, apparently
from the TV show. And then we had was it Monica? Which Rambeau is it? It's the mother.
It's got to be the mother.
It's the mother from
Monica Rambeau. Well,
from
they don't say
Captain
who she
Marvel.
is, but I'm assuming it's Monica Rambeau. Captain Marvel.
It's the same actress that played the mother in the Captain Marvel movie. So we know that she's like it's definitely her.
But the daughter was Monica.
The daughter was in WandaVision.
No, the daughter was in Captain Marvel.
Yes,
that's
and then
Monica
she,
Rambeau.
and then she grew
grows up
and she's in
to
WandaVision.
become WandaVision, and
But
that's the girl.
No, it's not.
Oh,
No, it's not. Different actress.
the actress. It's the actress who played the mother in WandaVision.
The actress. No, the actress who played the mom in Captain Marvel.
Oh, the mother, the actress who played the mom in Captain Marvel.
Marvel is Captain Marvel in this in the
Oh,
Illuminati.
okay. So that's a switch then.
It's Brie Larson's friend. It's Carol Danvers' friend, the other pilot.
Yeah, but I don't think the other pilot is Monica Rambeau. I
don't know which Rambeau it is. It's one of the Rambeaus.
Yeah.
There's Monica, and I don't know what the other.
But the
what
daughter, I thought the daughter was
Is it
Monica.
not Remy?
I thought the daughter was Monica Rambeau, and that's who is Captain the
No,
Black
that's not.
Captain Marvel in the comics.
No, that's. I think she does become Captain Marvel in the comics. Yes, but in this iteration of the Illuminati, what they're showing is it's the actress who was Carol Danvers' friend in Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel?
So we have her.
So we have her,
And we have Mr. Fantastic.
and we get a huge cameo for Mr. Fantastic, which is John Krasinski,
From The Office.
who's been a huge. This has been talked about for the last few years that as a fan casting, Krasinski should be Mr. Fantastic. And
Oh,
of course,
okay.
Emily Blunt, his wife in real life, should also be Sue Storm.
Oh, really? That would be great.
So that has been a big. Now we don't see Sue Storm or
That's the
anyone
same.
else
That's
in
the
the family.
same team from Quiet Place.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So that was that got a lot of cheers when we saw him.
And Baron Mordo is also in the Illuminati.
And Mordo's in this too.
He's
Yep,
the only
he's-
character we already knew.
Yep, he's
Well,
one
we
of the-
already knew about in the MCU.
And then we get a really great cameo that we hear the voice of in the trailer, but we don't see anything. But we finally get to see Professor X. We see Charles Xavier.
Patrick Stewart as Professor X.
We see him back, and he's in the yellow hover chair that we
Mm-hmm.
see in the X-Men animated series. And we also hear the theme, the music from the animated series.
which I've only seen a couple
Oh,
of
my
episodes
God.
from, but I recognize that.
Hearing that music when the chair comes out was so great. Like that brought back a lot of really cool memories, and I was really happy that they did that. But having said that,
I think I almost felt like my problem with the Illuminati. I don't know.
what the reason for being created was.
I don't know if I felt underwhelmed by who was on it. Except, I think maybe like Captain Carter. Like, Captain Carter is not a powerful person.
Yeah, but if you're saying that, then why is Captain America on the Avengers?
Yeah, but Captain America, I don't know that Captain America would consider him part of the Illuminati.
But the Illuminati is kind of like the Avengers of this Earth.
Yeah, but it's weird.
There are no Avengers. Like
Yeah,
this is
there are no
this
Avengers. I
this
just
is
feel
who
like
they are.
these are the guys that are making the toughest decisions on a grand scale. Yeah, I guess if I guess if
Just her morale.
if you don't have Captain America and you have Captain Carter, I guess they're equivalent.
But it's the morale, right? That like she brings.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah,
always do the
okay.
right thing.
Okay, because Captain Marvel is intergalactic, super powerful. Mr. Fantastic, smartest man on Earth. Professor Xavier. Okay, so you got
One of the best
strongest telepaths, one of the
yeah.
strongest telepaths on Earth. You got Black Bolt, and you got a Mystic. Well, you actually have the Sorcerer Supreme in that universe,
Right, that's
So,
right.
okay.
That's what Ford
So I
was.
guess that makes sense.
But however, now having said that,
These guys are really tough.
these guys are really tough. But
they-
Wanda comes in,
Well, they even say that. They say if the Scarlet Witch comes, we're not worried about her.
right? And Strange is telling them the whole time, you have no idea what you're up against. And of course,
But they almost seem like they know what they're up against. Because they know about the Scarlet Witch. They say, yeah, we'll take care of her.
right,
But then Scarlet Witch comes in and pretty much.
it takes care of them. Like and to me, it was almost a joke. It
Yeah.
wasn't like, don't get me wrong, like the way that she takes out Black Bolt by shutting his mouth and he blows himself up.
He
He
implodes.
basically like gives himself a stroke. Basically gives himself like he hemorrhages his head.
Yeah, that was actually very imaginative.
Yes.
But she was and her being able to take Captain Carter is a no-brainer. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're dealing
The one
with
fight
someone
the
powerful.
one battle that she should have had was Captain Marvel. That
Well-
should have been a better fight.
Yeah, and I guess Mr. Fantastic. I guess you're going to take him out because you're super duper powerful. But I feel like she should not have been able to kill Captain Marvel, and I feel like she should not have been able to kill Professor X.
The way that she was able
I'm like-
to combat Xavier when Xavier was in her mind and then snap his neck the way that she did, I don't believe that could happen.
I don't believe that she would have been able to kill Captain Marvel or Professor Xavier that easily and that
Yeah.
fast. Like, I just don't buy it because basically she shows up and just pretty much,
And these are the people that took out Thanos.
yeah, she kills everybody in the Illuminati with the exception of
Mordo.
Baron Mordo. So
Mordo, excuse me.
Baron Mordo is by himself, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? They're all, so the Illuminati's gone? They're all dead?
I know. To me, that's why I just don't. That bothers me. Just not a huge fan of that scene. Other than the fact that there was really cool cameos, really cool to see these characters in live action, especially seeing Krasinski, who we think is coming into play Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four film.
Well, yeah, in all honesty, this was their way of subtly preluding to the introduction of some of these characters in
Right.
in
Future
in
the
our,
MCU.
in our MCU.
Right. So, like, if Professor X, if he exists in this Earth,
Yeah.
he should exist in our Earth.
So I think,
same thing with Krasinski.
I think the X-Men are coming.
Yeah.
I think the Fantastic Four are coming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they're doing anything with Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. I think they're going to
Yeah.
keep Brie Larson.
No, the next film is called Marvels, and it's like there's a few that's not just her. And I think this is where Monica Rambeau is going to come back.
Oh, okay.
The daughter's going to be,
Oh,
I
okay.
think,
So
in
they're
this
going to have
film.
another one. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would be very surprised. Well, I don't think they're going to do anything with Captain Carter. Like, I don't think Captain Carter is going to ever be part of our universe.
A movie? No, I don't think so
Shouldn't
either.
be. But I would be very surprised if they pulled the Inhumans into the MCU.
Yeah.
I think
They haven't even touched the X-Men yet. I can't be pulling the Inhumans in. The Inhumans
Yeah.
at one point in time were supposed to be, but then the TV show screwed that up.
Yeah, because the Inhumans actually pull into a lot of the things that have already happened because the Celestials created the Eternals and the Deviants, and what the Inhumans are. The Inhumans are an experiment by the Kree on Earth, kind of replicating what the Celestials did with Earthlings. So what the Celestials did was created the Eternals and the Deviants. The Kree tried to do something like that on Earth, and they created the Inhumans. And at the end of the day, we already have Celestials, Eternals,
Right.
Deviants, and Kree. So we have all the things that have that made the Inhumans exist.
Right.
So they could
I mean, it's possible down the line
they
that
could
they're still
do it
looking to
without,
something.
it's just one of those things where it's like they don't have to explain anything else. It's already
Right.
everything's there. Whatever the explanation that they use, the same explanation in the comics, all those elements have already been introduced, and that's what it comes down to. Like, you couldn't just introduce the Inhumans and then introduce Kree and Celestial. Like, unless you did something completely different, unless you just made a completely different origin. But it would be nice to see the Inhumans because I think I really have to watch that TV show from beginning to end.
Oh, God, don't.
Well, it's only one season,
like
and
seven
you know
or
what?
eight episodes.
You know what it is? Medusa is one of my favorite characters in comic books, so I think I got to watch it just to see
I
what
don't know if
they
they
do
do
with
it
her.
justice.
They probably don't. Well, they obviously didn't do it
Well, it got
much
canceled
justice
real
at all
quick, so.
because it got canceled really quick. But I'd be curious if they try to reboot it a little bit because I'll be honest with you, the MCU has no bounds. They're just introducing stuff left and right, but it all comes down to the House of Marvel that was built by Stan Lee and Roy Thomas and some other later people as well. Like, there's just so much to pull from.
Well, it's interesting because
And we have more, and there's more cameos that we haven't
yes,
touched.
yeah, that we haven't even talked about yet, which we'll get at the end. So, I mean, we are at the end pretty much. There's, we already talked about pretty much what happens with Scarlet Witch and what America does, showing her, basically giving her what she wanted, right? Like taking her to her children, and showing them, and the kids are scared, so they end up running, and she ends up seeing that she is the monster after all. Before that happened, what did you think of the musical note fight scene between the two Doctor Stranges?
I thought that was very weird.
I thought that was just silly.
It was silly. You know what? It's one of these things where, people want to have like these set piece fights, and it's like, somebody just had the idea, and someone said, you know what, that'll look good, and they both said, we don't care if it makes sense or not, it'll look good.
Yeah.
And it was interesting.
I mean, visually, it was cool.
It
to
was
see.
visually kind of.
But the fight was just silly.
It was stupid, but it was like one of these things where it's like, you know what, they don't care. Like, it's like,
And it ends up killing the other Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Because he gets flung out the window.
they're just
gets
doing
impaled.
stuff because it's different, and someone they wanted. That's what they wanted to do something that looked cool, and it did look cool. It just made absolutely no sense. I
Now,
thought it was goofy.
Do you think Wanda's dead?
Oh, the way
So she
the way
brings
it
down.
ends?
So she basically, once she comes to her senses, she tries to destroy the actual monument
it
to
comes
the
down
Darkhold.
to is her contract up? Is the number of movies she signed for? Has she finally hit that number?
Yeah, money talks.
You know what? Because isn't Division dead?
No, like the White Vision, right, from WandaVision,
Mm-hmm.
he defeated the other Vision, the one that she created.
Oh, see, I forget. I forgot a lot of that.
So I think that in that White Vision, he left. He flew away. And I don't know if we've seen him again since.
Yeah, okay. Because I was certainly like, some of these like old guard people are just gonna retire, like
Yeah.
Tony Stark,
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.,
Yeah, Chris Evans.
Chris Evans, gone.
I mean, it's interesting that we have
a lot of these,
we have a Thor
Black
movie
Widow,
coming.
she's
Yeah,
out.
she's gone. So, but we have a Thor movie coming. So we're gonna get some familiar face.
Now this is Thor 4.
Yeah. So Thor: Love and Thunder's coming.
Is that the only movie with 4 movies? I mean, aside from the Avengers. I mean, Avengers.
The Avengers
Avengers
they
was
have
really
4 films.
Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 was really what it was.
Mm-hmm.
They just spread it out. But yeah, but like solo movies, Thor
Yeah.
is at 4. And I'm kind of looking forward to.
And then Guardians 3.
Kind of looking forward to empowered Jane Foster. Jane
Yeah.
Foster as Thor.
Yeah, Lady Thor. So we'll see that. And then, like I said, Guardians 3 is coming out. So you got 2 familiar franchises.
Yeah, looking
coming
forward
back
to
out.
looking forward to Guardians 3 for sure.
I think next year we're supposed to get the second Black Panther film.
I think they're gonna be pulling in Adam Warlock into.
Oh, they have to. That was the big teaser at the end of the second film.
Yeah, I think they're gonna.
They are. They casted it's I forget the kid's name, but if you saw his face, you'd recognize him.
So one of the other cameos they.
So at the very end, right?
No, not even before that. One of the sorcerers at Kamartaj he's like a green bull.
Oh, that it's almost like a minotaur.
He's like a
almost.
minotaur.
Yeah.
In the comic books, that's his name is Rintra. He's actually introduced in Doctor Strange number 80 from like the mid 80s, 1985 and 1986. It's like literally the second that he's introduced in the last panel of Doctor Strange number 80, and then he's fully in Doctor Strange number 81, and that's the last issue of the series.
Okay.
And I think he becomes, I don't know if he becomes a Sorcerer Supreme, but he probably was hung around for a little more. But it was good to see him, and I have those books. I'm happy with that. Not too many people can sign them, for sure. But and then at the very end, in the Easter egg, we get a character that when the movie started, when me and Chris saw the movie, I think I even said this on the Thursday night. I said not for nothing, Chris. They really should be introducing Clea at some point. Clea is in the comic books. I think she's from Dormammu's realm. She might even be related to Dormammu, but ultimately she leaves with Doctor Strange and becomes Doctor Strange's sidekick in the late 60s and 70s.
It's funny that you say that because so in her little cameo, it's Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron.
She's the one, and she comes out in this purple outfit, and she has this weapon that she ends up almost like cutting the fabric of reality.
Yeah.
Like around them. But when that opened up, it looked very similar to the
Dormammu,
Dormammu's
yes.
realm when Doctor Strange fought him in the first film.
That it had that look to it.
That like purplish,
Shimmery.
color. Yeah, that was very interesting. I was like, oh, I wonder if there's a connection with that.
Right.
And then of course Strange gets his, third eye.
Third eye, which is weird. But Chris even told me, you said, who's that? And I said, well, it's either Clea or Topaz. Because Topaz is involved in there too. And
It's definitely Clea.
and the thing is, both of those characters, I think, have purple costumes.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, it's got to be Clea. And of course, we waited for the credits and saw Clea, Charlize Theron. And that's cool, because Clea is actually really cool. Clea is like, she was like, when Frank Brunner and a lot of the other Doctor Strange artists were drawing her in the 70s, she was actually like a really kind of cool, hip type of character. She was like not like a hippie,
Right.
but she was like, her costume was like really, really sharp looking costume.
What and
She was like Doctor Strange's mystical sidekick.
so this is the
team. They did stuff together.
This is what
almost like his girl. I don't know if it was his girlfriend. I think they might have been romantically entangled.
Okay.
I think, but because I said a lot of that. By the time I started reading Doctor Strange in the later 70s, she wasn't in it as much. Like she was really big in the earlier 70s.
I don't know at this point in time who's going to end up being the big bad that like ties these characters together.
Oh, the big bad guy
Right.
for everybody.
Because we
who's
go
going to
through,
who's going to be the next Thanos?
So
you mean?
the Avengers was the 6th film when all those movies were coming out. Okay, and at the end of that, we see Thanos, and we know that eventually is going to end up being the big bad person. This is the 5th film, if you're counting Black Widow, and it's like at this point in time, we still really don't know.
We don't have an underlying threat.
Right,
Threading everything together.
that's going to end up being the one that ties it all together.
If I had to make a guess, I'm going to say Korvac. That's my official guess. My official guess is Korvac.
So we got Thor coming out soon. So that'll be the 6th film? Is that a possibility that we see that? We see at the very end of this movie that Doctor Strange will return. So we know he's coming back at some point, whether it's a 3rd solo film or a team up. We know he's coming back. So that there's definitely a lot of unanswered questions at this point as to which direction they're going in.
Yeah, I think they know what direction they're going in.
Oh no, I'm not saying
they just haven't.
They do. They're not letting it out yet.
I think they're just having a little bit of fun right now and doing some of these movies.
Well, like you said, they're introducing a lot of these
without
characters.
having to have that underlying threat theme woven in yet.
Yeah, no, like you said, I think for right now they're introducing all these characters and their worlds.
You know what it is? I think they had to do that in the beginning, like the big gamble that paid off. But now that they know that they can pretty much do whatever they want, they're not forced to do an underlying threat to make people to come back.
Yeah.
Like they can, they're like, you know what, people are going to see the Marvel movies, period. They've made their money. They know they're going to make money, and even if a movie doesn't do good, it doesn't derail their vision. They don't all of a sudden say, "Oh, we're going to stop making movies." They just they already have all their movies lined
planned
up.
out. Yeah.
Every single movie that they're making is planned out and lined up, and they're making it no matter what. Even if Ant-Man and the Wasp and Bumblebee Jr. flops. It doesn't matter. It doesn't derail the train.
Well, you have the 3rd Ant-Man film, right? Quantumania, that's coming out also, I think, next year.
Yeah.
So I think they have at least like 3 or 4 films next year that are coming out. They're putting out a lot of films in the next couple of years.
And I think there's a She-Hulk TV show coming.
That's a Disney Plus series, and then Miss Marvel is also getting a series as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot. And quick Disney Plus Moon Knight. I saw the first episode of Moon Knight. It didn't pull me in at all. I hated it, and I don't know that I have a desire to watch it all, but I might not. Like I don't necessarily watch all the TV stuff. The only TV I didn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I saw like a couple of episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I said I'm done. I saw the first 2 episodes of Inhumans. I was like, eh. I saw the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I enjoyed WandaVision. I watched the whole thing. I enjoyed Loki. I watched the whole thing. I don't know that not seeing all those other things really impeded my ability to understand and enjoy
You saw
the
What
movies.
If? You watched
Oh,
What
I
If?
watched all the what ifs.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I think I watched the three most important ones.
Did you watch Hawkeye?
I started watching Hawkeye, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I actually want to watch the rest of it because I was
Yeah.
enjoying that. I was enjoying Hawkeye.
And so there's a lot that's going on right now between the Disney Plus series shows and the film. And I mean, I'm sure everything will be revealed in due time. But I mean, till then, I think the next.
But yeah, I'm going on record. I'm going to say
You're gonna
Korvac.
say Korvac. All
I'm
right.
going with Korvac.
I said this was DC. I'd have my theories. Marvel, I'm going along for the ride. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But guys, I think that's our review.
So we liked it better than the first Doctor Strange movie?
I liked it a lot better than the first Doctor Strange. I still thought it was. To me, it was good. It was.
It was, and it was only like a 2 hour movie.
It was.
But I'll be honest with you, they fit a lot into that 2 hours.
To me, it was.
It didn't lag.
I thought it lagged a little bit in some
I just
spots,
found some
but
of the choices to be a little goofy.
I enjoyed this film better than the first one. I still thought the trailers did a really good job of hyping up the film, and it didn't live up to that.
There was one scene where they were going through like all different multiverses.
Yes.
All different universes, like every 3 seconds they went into a different universe. And I found that, even though visually it looks cool, a lot of it made no sense. Like the universe where everybody is paint. Like,
Well, and you heard Americans say like, "Oh yeah, it's hard to eat there."
yeah, like, a lot of these things don't make sense. Like, the whole point of the multiverse in the Marvel comics was the concept of multiple universes, alternate universes, where
Right. Or
different
like
things
different
happen.
decisions, or like you made a different decision
Yeah.
of what would happen.
It-
Different
it
events
was-
occurred.
It was really like, took up with What If,
Right.
and like basically the rules of each universe is almost the same, just as people did different things happen. The foundation of reality wasn't different. The foundation of reality is different in different dimensions. Like Dormammu's dimension.
Right.
Like that. Then things are a little. I can see things a little bit
Like
weird.
the Mirrorverse, like the Doctor Strange.
Yeah, like
goes
crazy
into.
things like that. But when
Yeah.
you're dealing with an alternate universe of our universe, everything's not going to be paint.
No, I know.
You know
Some
what
of
I
that
mean?
stuff. And then like when they were like cut into like pieces.
Yeah,
At one point, instead of like
like
traveling through.
that's
Yeah.
that to me made no sense. And then the whole thing where yours is the only universe where you got to pay for things. I'm like, that made no sense to me, because you're going to tell me that in most of the other universes, the concept of commerce.
Well, it was only food. She
Oh.
said food.
Oh, food. Okay.
Yeah.
The
She
only,
didn't say things. She said like, we don't pay for food in most of these universes.
which is, I don't know. I think that I think they were just like, they were just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff and throwing a lot of stuff at the screen,
Yeah.
whether it really made sense or not. And we forgot the biggest cameo of all:
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell in a Sam Raimi film
Who would have
as
thought it?
as Pizza Papa.
Pizza Papa, right?
He was
Yeah.
Pizza Papa on one of the different universes. And I'll be honest with you, I thought what Doctor Strange did to him was really wrong. He put a spell on him that was going to make him punch himself and do things, but he said it's going to last for a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and I actually thought that was actually kind of brutal. Like that wasn't right. But I did.
That's the jerkiness coming
Yeah,
out.
I'm like really? That's he should have, it would have made more sense if he said, yeah, it'll be over in a couple minutes. No, it's gonna be over in a couple weeks. That wasn't right.
But then the last ending was like we just see him like he finally stops like
Yeah.
hitting himself. He says it's over.
It's
But
over.
then he breaks the fourth wall and
Yeah,
he
it's
looks at you and
over.
goes, "It's over."
But I did find, and I don't know if this was just me or Sam Raimi did this on purpose, but there are a couple of scenes in either Evil Dead 1, 2, or 3, The Army of Darkness, where Bruce Campbell's hand is possessed by a demon and it's messing with him and punching himself. So having Doctor Strange do a spell on him where he starts punching himself, to me was like a little bit of an inside
nod,
joke
yeah.
to what happened in some
And
of the
knowing
Evil
that
Dead
it was
films.
Raimi, yeah,
Right.
you're most
Right.
likely, you're probably correct.
And I'll be honest with you, Bruce Campbell's getting a little on in age. I almost didn't recognize him at first. You were like, when you said that's Bruce Campbell, I feel like I was.
It took you a second.
I was still in the process of trying to register who it was,
Yeah.
and I think I would have came to the conclusion, but it didn't hit me immediately like a ton of bricks, which is what is usually the case because I think he's just gotten a lot older now. I forget when his last cameo was in one of Sam Raimi's films.
Spider-Man 3 is the last thing I can think of, but I don't know what. I know Raimi's made stuff since then.
Yeah.
But
I think
yeah.
I think that covers all of the cameos.
I think so. I mean, I think overall, like I said, I thought it was better than one, but
Yeah.
still, I mean, still not at my upper echelon
I think I
of
gave the
Marvel
first
films.
Doctor Strange 2 stars at best, and I think this is like 2.5 at best.
Yeah.
And like I said, with the preview, I think I was expecting 3 stars. I was expecting a 3-star movie. I was really looking.
I liked Strange a lot more in this film. I didn't see him as much of a jerk as like in the first one. I did like him a lot more.
I think the third eye is going to be a little creepy going forward.
I really hope that doesn't last long in the next film.
Yeah, because it's weird.
Yeah.
It really looks bad.
Yeah. So I guess we'll find out in another year or two whether we see him again.
Yeah,
But,
hopefully the eye is closed most of the time.
But guys, with that, I think we're going to say goodnight.
Yep.
Everyone, enjoy your evening. Thanks so much for watching and listening, guys, and
Yep.
sharing this with us. We hope you enjoyed the review. See you next time with the movies.
Take care.